and to continue to recognize National Adopt a Pet Shelter Day with a story from 11 Alive's investigative team, The Reveal. Now, it's a sad fact, but there is an influx of animal cruelty cases occurring in the state of Georgia. Just this year alone, more than 1,200 dogs have been rescued from horrific situations. That is hard to believe. A Reveal investigator, Rebecca Lindstrom, takes a look at one German Shepherd's journey from tragic circumstances to a new life with his new family.
A couple of nights I had to spend down there kind of with the dogs. He was the dog I kind of bonded with, and I would shine my lights and he would bark and I would try to talk to him and reason with him or whatever. I guess I could just, the only way I could describe Boss is Boss was the boss. I mean, I saw Boss, he was the guard dog on the porch. Boss got let out of the pen. Boss stayed on the loose for 1 week, and everybody in the community would cite him, and you know, he's a wolf on the loose and that kind of stuff. I got Sally and brought Sally home, and the next morning when I came out and it was dark, Boss was laying right there beside Sally. And so that's where Boss has been since.
He loves Sally, like literally he'll lay right there with Sally while she's asleep. He'll just doze off as well.
Since Boss has been out of that pen for the last 2 or 3 months, he's not been touched. He won't let me touch him. It took me probably about 3 weeks to really get it. He licked me in the mouth every once in a while. You would think that all the love and care that I've shown him and my wife and daughter, you would think we could pet him. I mean, at least pet him. I mean, but I really seriously doubt I'll ever be able to pet him. I mean, he's about as gentle as I think he's ever going to be. So I know he's happy. There's no doubt in my mind.
Gosh, Rebecca joins us now with more. She traveled to South Georgia to meet Boss for her upcoming story, Caged in Cruelty. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, and what I love about that is that you can tell the Boss is happy.
Yeah.
But I love that that family is willing to love Boss the way Boss needs to be loved. Not the way
Right.
maybe they want Boss to love them,
Right.
but is there to meet the needs of Boss.
And tell me a little more about the conditions that he was living in. It is hard to believe. Well, in the intro we talked about 1,200, but you say that's just from breeders.
3 different breeders at the beginning of this year. So that's not the total number of dogs that have had to be rescued from these situations. That's just the 3 that we've been really focusing on and examining for this investigation. But when you look at the conditions that Boss came from, he was on a patio, but surrounding him were all of these pens, up to 400 dogs at one point in time, and to what you can see there, a very small piece of land. So there's that white fence, that's where they found Boss, and then in all these other pens were the other hundreds of animals. I mean, that was mud.
Ugh.
People see the mud, but really that was feces.
Oh gosh.
That had just been mixed in. It hadn't been cleaned. It was winter at the time that the dogs were rescued, so they were cold. It was wet, and you could have 5, 6, 7 dogs in one pen with only 1, maybe 2 igloos. So there really wasn't even shelter.
Who's responsible for inspecting these facilities? Whose job is it? And who failed at their job?
Well, we'd like to be able to pin it all on one person, and that's really the challenge that we've had with this investigation. I mean, it starts with the Department of Agriculture. They're the ones that are going and inspecting these facilities. But when they have violations, they're really turning to the local community.
Sure.
They're going to local law enforcement and saying, we want you to prosecute. And what we're finding is that, I think as we put it, no teeth in the law, no keen eye to the problem, and no prosecutors willing to bite. So it's a community effort to really save these dogs and keep them safe.
And this is gaining national attention, this problem, right?
It is, because the breeder that Boss was living at was really the beginning. The Department of Agriculture noticed, ooh, we better go back and make a list of high-risk places to see if there's others that we should be checking out. And when they did that, that's when they started to find these other cases. We have one U.S. Senator who has said, hey, U.S. Department of Agriculture, local Department of Agriculture, we've got to do something about this. So again, yeah, national attention, a lot of eyes on this problem, which is good, because hopefully it means we're going to come up with solutions.
Absolutely. And Boss was adopted by Montgomery County Commissioner Greg Palmer. How did that all come about?
Well, the commissioner really was instrumental in helping to shut down that breeder and get those charges pressed. He heard from the family, complaints, concerns, because this was her own family that was reaching out for help, saying, you've got to do something about this. There's just too many dogs. The dogs cannot be properly cared for.
Right.
And so he started advocating and really raising his voice, got other people in the community raising their voice, and finally was able to help get these dogs rescued. And he stayed there on the property night after night with Boss. Boss was the very last dog rescued from that property because he was so wild.
Right.
And he just said, I knew. We had that bond after spending several nights together. I knew Boss was coming home with me.
Incredible. Thank you so much for telling this story. And of course, you can watch Rebecca's complete investigation on this very important issue Wednesday night on Up Late.
That's right.
Thank you so much.